Hello and welcome to The Quest on Rajya Sabha TV. I'm Rakhee, Bakshee. In this show, we keep introducing you to new personalities, leading ones, people who share their views and vision. And since they matter in the society, they share also their stories. And we've been bringing you all these new faces each week. We've been talking to them. And this has been quite an interesting journey on The Quest. We've completed more than 100 episodes and you've been watching it, also telling us how you've liked it. So right now, another special guest with us. He's the Minister for Science and Technology, Dr. Vardhan. We really know him well and welcome to the show.
Thank you.
You know, we decided to talk to you because we've just lost a leading luminary. Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam is no longer with us. How would you really like to look at his legacy?
I think this is something which is very difficult for me to describe, the amount of loss that the country has suffered after his departure from the scene. And to me also particularly, I would say, personally I was quite well attached to him since I met for the first time a couple of years ago, I think maybe 10 years ago when he was the president. That was my first interaction with him at a personal level. I had heard about him. I think we have lost a great man, a great scientist, a great human being, a great visionary, and above all, a great researcher and a man of the people.
You know, I mean, we saw actually the kind of popularity he enjoyed, and very sadly, of course, when we really lost him. But of course, we knew him also as a very popular president that country had. How would you look at his vision, where he talked about scientific temper to be instilled in all, especially children? He talked about science which should be creative, and he talked about science which is for everybody and which is for every day.
You see, whatever he talked, it was not that he was only talking about it. If you look at his history and analyze and study and go into its depth, you will realize that as a scientist, he himself was in fact doing so many things at so many levels which would certainly promote science in a big way, which would take science to the people, which would use science for the benefit of the mankind. And it is, you see, he may be known as a missile man for the common man. But if you look at the work that he did in TFAC and other places, or whether in DRDO, means he is popular as a missile man. But he was using science for rehabilitation of the earthquake victims, for the rehabilitation of the poor, for the creation of educational institutions, for providing medical and health services, educational services to far off countries like Africa through a satellite. And that was like promoting our own country in a big way, the human face of India to the far off places like Africa. So
today, as a minister who's holding a portfolio like science and technology, you feel, and also somebody who's been a renowned doctor and also handled the ministry earlier, where would you really look at his vision being filtered through and being taken ahead in terms of your responsibility?
I think this process of taking science forward in a big way, it had started very well during the regime of Shri Atal Bihari Vajpayee, when, if you remember, he was the first Prime Minister of the country who added the dimension of Jai Vigyan to the already existing Jai Kisan and Jai Jawan. And you remember that within 2 months of his having assumed responsibility as the Prime Minister of India in '98, he brought us to the center stage of on top in terms of our nuclear capabilities. No one had ever even dreamt of that. And I think we always feel grateful to Shri Atal Bihari Vajpayee and of course to Professor APJ Abdul Kalam, who had the guts to go and share everything with him within 2 months. Normally in the usual setup, no one would dare to go to a Prime Minister and talk about the capabilities and then in a way motivate each other to take forward a great mission. So this journey for science had started with these two men working together at that time, and I think that must have been the reason why Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji thought of Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam as as the President of India.
So here is Mr. Vajpayee, who I would say somebody who was very creatively inclined also, of course a very fine leader. But so we are looking at again science with creativity. Yes. And where do you think we as a nation have traveled?
I think we have done reasonably well. I would say very well. And today, fortunately, we have again another Prime Minister who enjoys the legacy of that great Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee, who also has science at the back of his mind, who has he may not be a scientist by education, he may not be a man with a science background, but he has the science passion more than a scientist.
A temper, you mean?
Temper, passion, and his vision is all, you see, because we observe him from close quarters. It is not that we hear him only in his speeches where we see that he is talking about science and scientific innovations and promotion of scientific technology and using that scientific technology for strengthening the Make in India campaign, promoting the growth of the country. It is not only in his speeches. As a science and technology minister, I see the Prime Minister taking so much of meticulous, very fine interest, going into the depth, going into the nitty-gritty of the scientists doing various types of activities in the various labs, whether they belong to CSI or science and technology or for the earth sciences or any other biotechnology, all fields. Today itself, when I am in front of you after an hour or so, we are going to have a meeting with the Prime Minister where he has invited 30 top scientists and he is going to look at their presentations, discuss with them the various fields and what we can do, what we have done and what is our vision.
So do you think this understanding will really help in meeting all those challenges that I'm sure as a minister and as a nation we are faced with?
Certainly. You see, I would say that in many fields, our scientists and their accomplishments till now, we are world class. I think if you compare the number of publications, if you compare the type of research that we are doing, the type of information that we are
they go away. I mean, the sad part is that they go away.
No, they don't go away. You see, they are not, in fact, brought to the notice of the people in that true perspective. If I talk to you about ocean science or space science, you see, you look at the Mars orbiter mission. The first time India tried, and the first time they were successful, even advanced countries like US or Europe, they may not have succeeded. So there are many milestones like this. Today, we are providing information about the early tsunami warnings, about the weather, climate, and so many things to almost 24 countries across the near the ocean. In the field of biotechnology, if you talk about biotechnology, almost 2 out of 3 vaccines you will see that they are being manufactured here, whether it is generic medicines or whether it is other things. Almost in this field of CSIR, where we have the 38 labs and the science and technology.
Are we really coming up with new innovations,
yes, we have a very ambitious innovation program, Atal Innovation Program, and then we have a National Innovation Mission Foundation. Thousands of innovations are coming up. The only thing that we found, as a minister I found, was slightly lacking, and which I have been able to diagnose, and which after having visited so many labs all over the country and after having involved the scientists and the directors of these CSIR and the Science and Technology Department into detailed brainstormings, we have found that there is some strengthening that is required about connecting what is being discovered or invented in the labs, converting into technology, then taking that technology to the industry or the places where it has to be taken to the people. And this is one place which needs some bridging of gaps here and there, which we are trying to do under the leadership of the Prime Minister. Then the another aspect which we are trying to strengthen is that, you see, instead of the scientist deciding what he has to do, he has to go back to the people and then see, with our experience of 60-70 years, what are the needs of the people. How do we solve the mighty problems of this country which remain unresolved and unsolved till now? It's not only the basic science or the research in the lab. You have to convert it into applied
But sir,
research, applied
sorry to
science,
ask you here,
applications.
what about sometimes this anguish that we see, for example, the promotions, the kind of incentive that they get, the kind of thing that should motivate them to do much better?
You see, honestly speaking, right now, if you analyze most objectively, you will find that in the recent years, and more particularly the last 1 year or so, there are a number of things that we have done to see that the emoluments, things that they get
That
in
should
terms of
encourage
facilities.
them,
I think must have been increased, the research scholars, fellows and all those scientists, they must have got those, their emoluments improved by something like 50%. There are so many who are lakhs of students, researchers, teachers, scientists who are being, you can say, helped through the Inspire program. It's almost like 2 lakh scholarships. Lot of programs are there which invite and encourage and promote the return of our scientists across the globe.
Are we finding the right talent, or sometimes we also hear that in the whole web of bureaucracy, things really get lost? I mean, are we really looking at the right people, right talent?
I think there is no dearth of talent in our country, and scientists and scientific talent and our young, the type of innovations that we see which come out of not only the young innovators. I see that people in the Adivasi areas also, tribal areas, they will also come out with so many. It's not only the scientists but the normal average people in this country. They have a brain which is capable of producing the best possible things that they are trying to do. So we don't have, we hardly have any dearth of talent amongst the people, amongst the scientists, amongst our young people. It is only a question of planning and synergizing all this energy, a little bit of better coordination, optimal utilization of our existing resources, manpower, scientific power, temperament, intellectual acumen, everything put together in the best possible manner and giving it a proper direction. And then the one thing that needs to be strengthened, and which we are trying to do, is to introduce an element of accountability into the system.
That's a very, very personal
and that is what I am trying to strengthen, that the scientists should know what are they going to give to the nation.
So since you've talked about accountability, we'll really expand on that point, because we'll take a very short break out here. We are right now on the quest talking to Dr. Vardhan. Some inputs that comes from his own individual personality, something which he as a minister wants to do. We would like to talk to him about so many other issues, but after this very short break that we are taking here on the quest. Welcome back to the show. You're watching this conversation with Dr. Vardhan. We are talking to him about challenges also that science and technology faces. Also somebody who is himself a doctor, so understands maybe these subjects very technically and maybe rightfully so. Do you think your own understanding really helps you?
Oh,
somebody who's a scientific man, who's understanding science.
Certainly, I would tell you that I started my association with the medical profession some 4 decades back as a medical student. Then I spent a decade in a medical college. Then I spent a decade working for the medical associations and doing some social work in the field. And then almost 20 years I am into politics, where I worked as minister in the state and at the national level, and also with the World Health Organization. But the amount of passion and interest and knowledge and information that I could gather and develop in the field of health, I can say for sure that the same amount or maybe more than that I have been able to develop for science in the last almost 6, 8, 9 months since I took over as the science and tech. It's a fantastic field. So much of information is there, and when we relate it, you see, I now sometimes go back to the textbooks of physics and chemistry and biology and biotechnology or whatever I used to study in my school days.
Yeah.
So and it's so interesting, and this is something where you can help people, and this is what I have been impressing upon the scientists, that you have to take science to the people. Unless you connect science with the people, and unless you use science for the benefit of the mankind, this science or the research publication or your patents, they have no meaning
but
at
still,
all.
if you look at the kind of figures I was reading, that our contribution to research actually is very low as compared to even other countries.
I would suggest that probably your, I'm sorry to say that your information is not maybe updated. You see, in terms of, if you talk about publications, we are probably amongst the top 5-6 in the whole world. But I personally, I feel that for me, it's not very important how many publications or how many patents they come out of a lab. When I visit a lab, I spend the whole day talking to the scientists and addressing them, seeing their research in the laboratories. I always ask this, what is the breaking news? You tell me what is the breaking news of last 5 years, 10 years, and that is what I am trying to impress upon them, that we want breaking news which will help the people.
I'm sure this is good news to all those media guys who are watching.
We are trying to reorient the direction in which, and we are also trying to introduce timeliness. Like you see in these brainstormings that we did for all our CSIR labs in Dehradun, 9 o'clock till 9 o'clock in the night, and then another day, then we did it in Hyderabad for our science and technology. So trying to really reach
to the problem and challenges.
We are in fact asking them, tell us what you are going to give us in next 365 days, 5 years.
Let's look at even women scientists, and sometimes now we hear they have their own problems, and how the fact that they would really like to also come up equally. Are you trying to look into these matters?
Oh, yeah. You see, as far as the women scientists are concerned, I don't think there is any differentiation or difference that or a different type of treatment for a woman scientist or a male scientist. They are equally helped, and there are schemes which certainly help and promote the upcoming, or the you can say promotion or the build-up of these women scientific force. So I feel so happy to see young women and established senior ladies working as established. You see, a couple of years back, even our science and technology secretary in the country was a woman herself. So I don't look at it as an issue of women or men. And at the scientist level or the scientific community level, people really don't look at it
so let's look at, I mean, you yourself,
angle.
As you said, you've been really associated with a lot of these social issues. Polio, you've done a wonderful job, and we've known about that. So looking at, again, the use of science to really promote better humanity all around us, let's say it should also reach out and converge with industry and other sectors. What is being done?
You see, the focus that I am trying to give to the scientists right now is, you see, number one, there are a number of very, very highly ambitious and very, very useful programs which have been launched by the Prime Minister under his leadership, whether we talk of the Swachh Bharat mission, or the Make in India mission, or the Digital India, or the Unnat Bharat, etc., etc. Means
all these schemes,
Skill India. In all these missions, what you need is the backup and the support of the science. You see, for example, I say Swachh Bharat mission. You see, if the scientists in the labs, or the technologists, or the engineers, or the IITs, all of them together, if they can produce some equipments or things which will be able to produce sanitation drives in the most scientific manner, you see, you can't afford to still have people entering into the
I think that the scientific addition will really help.
So there are so many things which through science. Then if you look at the health side, where we have, you see, because our department is the high-ended part of the medical research, the development of the vaccines. The country developed the rotavirus vaccine. It was developed by the Department of Health in collaboration with my biotechnology department. Now this rotavirus vaccine, you see, diarrheas, you lose so many young children, kids, not even a few months later after infants, neonates, you will lose them only because of diarrhea. And if you will die only because of the rotavirus, and rotavirus vaccine, it has been produced. You still have, say, 87% women who are anemic while they become pregnant, 40% people still
And
below
this is
poverty
helping,
line, malnutrition. There are number of issues in the country which actually need the help of science, medical science. You have to rediscover, have new drugs. You have to promote the Indian systems of medicine. We
And
have to
whole atmosphere,
and all
atmosphere,
this
so to
has
say,
to
yeah.
be scientifically done to find solutions to the problem. So that is why I keep emphasizing, go to the people, study what is our problem. After 67 years, we have to solve each one of them and use science for the best use of it.
I think as a minister, but also as a leader, and I really wouldn't be pardoned if I really don't ask you those little questions, of course, about Delhi and your concern for Delhi, I would say, of that how you've seen things closely and how would you really like Delhi to, to be better. I mean, I'm not really going into those hard nitty-gritties of politics here right now, but somebody who's so much associated, I would say, not only as a leader, also as a doctor, somebody who's been a citizen.
You see,
of Delhi.
honestly speaking, I sometimes feel very, very bad and very, very sorry and disheartened about the state of affairs in Delhi. We saw in the last 15, 16 years, in fact, two chief ministers, right now one and then another, who was there for almost 15 years. You see, the problems are immense. They need radical solutions. They need innovative thinking. They need out-of-the-box approaches. Concentrate yourself only on the solutions to the problem. But if you devote most of your time only politicking and just thinking of something else, but not ever remembering why you were there, why you were sent to that position. It's not commenting about anybody, but that's the real story, which you all see.
And talking about the government, and you're a very important part of the government, how would you really look at the roadmap as to where we're going as a country? We know that the Prime Minister is visiting so many foreign countries. Prime Minister has so many plans here.
I would suggest that I had studied, in fact, in being a part of the cabinet, I know also, recently when we completed 1 year, the Prime Minister had requested me to, in fact, literally ordered me to go to US for presenting 1 year of Modi ji's government and what we did in all the fields, and I presented it before the American crowd. And I was so happy when I studied everything and then presented it. I felt proud of the achievements of Modi ji. And I suggest
and what was the
that
feedback?
all the feedback was very good, very, very good, very, very positive. And in fact, I have been going around the country. I have been to a couple of states also presenting all that, like all my other colleagues. In every field, he has talked some of it on the Independence Day occasion. But what he could talk there was because of the paucity of time. He could hardly
elaborate on many things.
There are many things that he could not even touch. In every field, every department, we have done very, very significantly well. The vision is absolutely clear, very sincere vision. And the country has a potential to go to the top. You see, we had a glorious past. We can make our future brighter than our past.
After Mars, what next? I mean, Mars, of course, is something that we really feel proud of, that we've reached.
You see, see, as far as the space is concerned, it's directly being overseen, and in fact, it's under the leadership of the Prime Minister. In our department itself, in all the fields, we are trying to put in new ideas, deliberating upon where to focus upon. The big things that are coming up is a supercomputing mission. We are going to have, it's a project worth 4,500 crores. And I remember Dr. Kalam have started giving push to it, but now with Prime Minister Modi here, it's been given a big push in the last 1 year. And now, you see, for all this data analysis of a huge country like like India, where you can within a span of a few days or few minutes, the data which used to be analyzed for after
But
a span
one
of
important thing
months.
before we'll really wrap up is about climate change and how science actually in our country is helping to lessen our problems.
As far as the climate change etc. is concerned, we are trying to deal with this issue in the most scientific manner. In fact, the way our Earth Sciences Ministry tries to analyze, collect data about the situations, what is happening in the oceans, the earthquakes, the tsunamis, the weathers. You see, you will be happy to know that the type of information that we provide to our farmers and to our fishermen through our Earth Sciences Ministry, through the most important or the most advanced technological tools, as per the information of the Applied Institute of Applied Economic Research, they say that the data provided by our department is adding a positive impact of something like 1 lakh to 2 lakh 10,000 crores in GDP for the farmers, and something like 34,000 crores to the fishermen.
I think they would really need it, especially at a time when we're watching these earthquakes, taking place. We are looking at this very seriously, because we saw it in Nepal and some parts of India also, which is witnessing.
You see, as far as the earthquake is concerned, this is something where you cannot predict it. But tsunami is something where if an earthquake occurs within the sea, within 10 minutes we can, you see, it will convert into a tsunami after 2 hours, but within 10 minutes we can start informing the potential places where you can have its impact. And that's where we have developed the early warning systems of international level. Our weather forecasting systems are all world class, comparable to anything best in the world. We are in the process of making the largest, biggest 30-meter telescope with collaboration from China, America, Canada, Japan, Korea, and this is a project where our spending in the whole activity is something like 1,200 crores. And the good thing is 70% of it, you can say hardware, it's all produced in India.
And you think we have the money? Funding is not a problem? I mean, when we look at...
You see, as far as the big issues are concerned, the issues which concern the people and our government, it's committed for such activities. Obviously, you see, you can never be satisfied with the type of funds, because
you'd always like to cater too much.
What we inherited from the previous government, I don't want
Here
to.
Comes the politician.
No, it's not a question of politics. I don't want to get into it, but still, I would say that anything which is for the benefit of the people, the government is strongly committed to ensuring that that is not compromised. And that's why you see even the projects like what I said, the supercomputing mission and the
all those range of schemes that you've talked about, Dr. Harshvardhan, looking at this interview where whatever you've talked about, we really feel very enthused. We really wish that you also as a minister, also as somebody we have known as a very popular doctor, an individual, should actually be able to really meet those challenges, work on the kind of gaps that you're talking about in this interview. But we wish you all the best, and we really look forward to more work here. Thank you so much for being on Rajya Sabha TV.
Thank you.
That was Dr. Harshvardhan talking to us on the Quest on Rajya Sabha TV. More that we would like to listen, but right now, all this in this edition of the Quest. Hope you liked watching it as much as we liked shooting it. Thank you for watching. Namaskar and bye-bye.